Okay, good morning, everybody, and welcome to this week's virtual plant clinic. And Happy New Year's. Also, this is our first broadcast of the New Year's. My name is Bill Lester. I'm with University of Florida Extension Service here in Hernando County. And joining me today are our two regular co-hosts, Colby Pitts, who's the Hernando County Florida Friendly Landscape Coordinator. Good morning, Colby.
Good morning.
Okay, a little hesitant there, but and one of our Master Gardener volunteers, Bernie, who's coming to us from the office right here along with me. Good morning, Bernie. How you doing?
Surviving very well. Great year
Good.
so far.
So for anybody who is joining us live, or if you're watching the recording of this and the broadcast, please feel free to ask us any questions you might have about your lawn, landscape, trees, bushes, what else? Irrigation, water resources. Don't ask me too much about snakes and birds because I'm not the expert on that, but we will have the expert on that here next week. Hannah Brinkley from Chinseega Conservation Center is supposed to join us and be our special guest for the day. But just go ahead and jump right in and ask us a question. So, Bassem, good morning. How are you doing? Hope you had a good New Year. Kind of a chilly New Year, wasn't it?
It's too cold. I'm not made for all this. I like it to be a little bit warmer.
I don't like below 60, really.
Mm.
Well, coming from up north, I was thankful I didn't have to shovel.
Yeah.
Never done it. I've never even seen snow, like real deal snow. It's only slush and
Oh,
stuff.
yeah. You're a Florida native like my wife. Um, she never saw snow until years ago. We went up to Washington, D.C. during the winter, and sure enough, it snowed. It snowed a lot. I got to drive in it. Reminded me of when I was in high school learning how to drive in snow. But yeah, I don't miss it.
I mean, I've been to Washington D.C. in the winter, and it was just like it looked like someone spilled a snow cone on the ground all over the place, and that was it. That's as far as that's as close as I've gotten.
I had
Well,
a good
snow.
friend that went to moved to Texas and went to work for the airline over in Texas, and he'd never been around really cold weather and didn't know what black ice was. So his first day of going to work, he's bopping along about 70 mile an hour. Everybody else is running 30 on the interstate. He doesn't understand why. Gets
Oh
to the
no.
first bridge, does about 6 loops, and comes to a halt facing all this oncoming traffic. Couldn't figure it out. Got the car turned around, took off, did it again, and then realized there's something going on that I'm not familiar with. It's not Florida. So Florida people going where it's snowy and icy really have problems driving, and if you don't understand, it's a serious problem. So uh, you know that it hasn't really been that big a deal here since '89. They closed the interstate between Gainesville and Ocala because there was an inch of snow. The Northerners didn't think it was a problem. The Florida natives thought there were like 9 feet of snow or something. It was really kind of comical. But I think that's the last time we've had a snow emergency in Florida.
Thank you, Lily. This I didn't even this was given to me. I was not. We have not gotten new jackets. I'll leave it at that. It's been a whole thing here at the office. Uh, it's almost like, I mean, really, between Gainesville and Ocala, they should just close that all the time anyway. The traffic's so bad, I wouldn't go there if I could avoid it. Um, I wonder though, it's almost like when the people from up north come down and they experience Florida driving when the weather's good. They're probably just about as freaked out as Florida drivers in the snow.
Well,
Uh,
Florida drivers understand that there's a lot of oil and stuff that accumulates on the highway, and the roads are slick when it first starts raining, and it takes a little while to clean the roads off. And we live right in a curve, And when we first moved in, the curve was fairly tight, and we would have people run off the road and into our trees, and on a routine basis, probably every 3 weeks it would happen. As soon as
Wow.
there was a rain, there would be a crash,
Hmm.
and they went in and tilted the road to help it and widen the radius. So now we only get about 4 a year, but when we first moved there, it was really bad, and it was almost always people that had moved here recently and didn't realize that you have to slow down. You know, they take that curve at 60 mile an hour every day,
They don't make
every
it.
day, and then it rains, they
Yeah.
go 60 mile an hour, and they're off the road, and it doesn't happen like that up north.
Yeah, there's a place like that in Bushnell, Wahoo Curve. You go by there. I feel like every time I went by there, you've seen either a car flipped over on the side or the remnants of a wreck being there. Be careful driving, everybody. It's dangerous. People don't understand how dangerous driving really is. Like, think about it for a second.
So our advice to everybody for today is drive safely on the roads, especially after it's rained, which we're supposed to get quite a bit of. We actually are in an El Nino pattern. I know earlier this winter they kept saying it, and I'm looking in my yard like everything is bone dry and has not rained in weeks. I'm not sure what they're talking about, but now every couple days, another front, another line of rain, which saves my winter vegetable garden because I am not the most diligent or the best at keeping it well watered. Kind of hard to find the time some days, but the rain's definitely appreciated. So be careful out on the roads. And we have an actual lawn and garden question here, which I can give a little bit of insight on. Bassem asks, can we grow artichoke in Central Florida? And is there any tips to have a good crop? University of Florida is doing a lot of research on growing artichokes here because they were never grown commercially in Florida in the past. And they're looking at all the different varieties of artichokes and which ones grow well here, which ones don't, exactly what time of year. They're doing a lot of that research over in St. Johns County in the general St. Augustine area. Still a lot of agriculture over there. So if you look online, and if you give me a moment or two, since we don't have Teresa here with us, which we feel when people start to ask these kind of questions, because Teresa's always in the background, instantly, looking up information online and sharing those links. Give me a moment. I'll try to pull something up. But they are looking at growing artichokes, and you can grow them here, although I've never tried. I'm not the expert.
I got your
Take
link.
it away. Let me look up artichokes here.
I found it. I found it already. You're good.
Okay.
So I'll put that in the comments.
And that's it. I know the people that have been working with that, with local growers over in St. Johns County, with growing artichokes. Because UF is always looking at different various crops that can be grown and produced in Florida. They've been looking at coffee. They've been looking at vanilla orchids. And you can grow vanilla because vanilla is the seed pod off of the vanilla orchid. And they grow great down in South Florida, where it's very tropical. Here in Central Florida, a little trickier. You have to make sure they don't freeze. But they're looking at different varieties. Calabaza, they're researching that. That's a very popular crop amongst people from South and Central America and the Caribbean who live down in South Florida. So, hey, guys, if you have any questions, go ahead and put them in the comments, put them in the chat. And I have something that was emailed to me the other day. So let's go ahead and dig in Dr. Bill's email here. First of all, what this is this came from Bruce. So Bruce is a regular viewer, and it's a picture of a queen palm. So the first picture is going to be queen palm from about June of 2022. and they look pretty good. Let me go ahead and share a screen. Bum, 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 bum. There you go. Should be able to see that. Well, I'm clicking a little bit too fast here. So there's some queen palms from back in about 2022, and they look normal. That's what queen palms are supposed to look like. They look fine. And then more recently, here's a picture of what one looks like. It's been declining. This gets community maintenance, and Bruce is concerned about fungus spreading by the landscape company, because they go along and they do a whole bunch of palm trees and they do not clean their equipment, or it doesn't look really obvious they're cleaning their equipment. And that is not how a queen palm should ideally look. And here's another picture, a bit more of a close-up. And I've seen this once before, basically. Got some photos and a visit from a gentleman who lived in the neighborhood that I lived in the Estates in Spring Hill. And what it turned out to be was he had several queen palms. He had like 5 in his yard, and they all had a very severe boron deficiency. Mm-hmm. And we always tell you that palm trees only have one growing point at the very top tip. And if something happens to it, you cut it off, it gets damaged, it freezes, gets hit by lightning. Palm trees do not get extra branches growing out from the sides unless they have a severe boron deficiency. Then they do really, really bizarre things like get that extra growing point. So it's a little hard to tell, but it looks like at this point it has 2 growing points and very distorted growth, very skimpy growth. So that would kind of lead me to think that it's possibly a major boron deficiency, or it may have fusarium also on top of it, although it doesn't really look specifically like fusarium, but it may have another disease. But obviously that's not what a queen palm is ideally going to look like. So Bernie, you ever seen boron deficiency in a palm?
I haven't personally, but that's one of those things that you have to realize. It took a long time for this tree to get in that condition normally, and it takes a long time to grow them back out of it. So the boron deficiency is, maybe 1 out of a couple hundred times that people send us pictures. Does it really appear to be boron? But when it is, you can correct it. You give it a treatment of boron, and it will come out of it. But as a general rule, if it's got a boron deficiency, it probably hasn't been fertilized correctly for its entire life. So you can't really expect instant results at this point.
Yeah, with any kind of nutrient deficiency, even if you start, and I just went ahead and right now I'm sharing a link to University of Florida publication about if your palm tree does have a boron deficiency, you can correct it. And this publication tells you exactly how to do it. But it can take up to a year for that palm tree to look correct again. It has to outgrow it and recover and start with the proper growth and lose all the old leaves and the distorted growth before it kind of recovers.
I remember seeing in some research I was doing about queen palms a while back that almost all of them in Florida have some kind of nutrient deficiency, whether that be potassium, boron, whatever. And I also read that it's really important not to cut off those the leaves until like they're all the way dead, because I guess they're nutrient storage. So like it'll pull potassium and such out of those leaves before they're completely dead. So maybe just something to think about. I know that you have to be real careful pruning those palm trees, because I remember one of the first plant clinics that I was here for, we showed the video or the pictures of the palm trees all fell over on one side because they had weak spots in them, and you'll get that from incorrectly pruning them.
Yes, improper pruning of palms is the quickest way to cause problems with your palm trees. And long term, it's very bad. Unfortunately, a lot of services and a lot of homeowners still do it. They, mistakenly think hurricane pruning, or, I only want to pay the service to come out and prune them once a year. So prune everything off except for that one little leaf coming up. And from a plant health perspective, that's very, very bad for palm trees long term.
I think probably the two biggest problems that we've had now is that people use lawn fertilizer as the fertilizer for their palm trees, which is deficient in what the palms need and causes long-term problems. And the second is lethal bronzing has become a really serious problem, and we have lost a lot of palm trees. The route I take to come into work originally had probably 40 nice cabbage palms, and the cabbage palms in this county have really been hit by lethal bronzing. And I noticed a couple of days ago there's only one decent looking cabbage palm left. All the rest of them are diseased and gone. And it is so interesting to see that one where it's been left alone. The bottom leaves are the normal light tan color they get when they've died and all the nutrients have been removed, and then the rest is this bronzy color. So you really understand where the term lethal bronzing comes from. But as soon as they start showing bronzing, it's over. There's no cure, and it affects queen palms. It affects the cabbage palms. It affects all the date palm series, the phoenix palms. So that and the fact that we're using lawn fertilizer. If the palm tree's in the middle of the lawn, you don't think about it when you go out and fertilize the lawn. But when you put nitrogen on a palm tree, the palm tree reacts. It wants to start growing. And unfortunately, while it's growing, it needs a certain group of nutrients continuously. And they just don't get it. They get this shot to keep them going. It's like giving somebody a growth hormone and not feeding them afterwards. You can grow them to death, and we're doing that to so many of these palms. So they're in a very precarious position. If they're not healthy, and you don't realize that there's a problem, they look good, and then they say, "That's it, I'm done. I call it quits," and your palm disappears in a hurry. So, but the lawn fertilizer thing is probably the one place where people can really make a big difference in all their palms. Don't use lawn fertilizer within 20 feet of your palm tree. Use palm fertilizer, which will work wonders on your lawn at the same time. So you're not losing out. Your lawn doesn't lose out if you use palm fertilizer to take care of the palm, and it also benefits the lawn. So that's what you need to do.
Yep. Palm trees have it tough enough out there as it is. I mean, you can't do anything about lightning hitting up your palm tree, and there's not a lot you can do about a number of these diseases. Like lethal bronzing is spread by a very small insect. So protecting your tree is very, very difficult, but there are simple things you can do. So no turf grass fertilizer near your palm. Use a quality palm fertilizer. That means not the cheap stuff, the more expensive stuff. And look at the label to make sure it has all the micronutrients that it should have for good, healthy palm tree growth. And take proper care of your palm. Don't over prune it. And hopefully your palm is going to do very, very well.
If you over prune them, a little guy called I can't think of the name of the little bug, but he just
palmetto weevil.
The little palm weevil shows up and just takes over. And the people that like these pineapple palms and keep the pineapple palm cut are really constantly doing that. They're over pruning the tree, and it keeps producing a pheromone that attracts those little guys, and they come in, and once you've got them, it's all over again for the tree. So, you know,
Yep. Because
proper.
once you figure out you have them, they're having a party in your tree. It's too late to control them. They've already damaged the growing tip very, very badly, and the tree will decline and die.
The ethical meristem.
So, Andrew Dave is asking about azalea bushes. What kind of soil mixture should she use if she wanted to plant her azalea in the ground?
Well, I think I'm gonna try this one. I think it's what it was, acidic soil. You want they're pretty shallow rooted. You want to make sure it's mulched very well. They like a lot of organic material. So I think that pretty much covers that. I know that they like it like needs to be able to retain a little bit of water, but you don't want them flooded, and you want to keep that soil pretty wet, especially when you're first establishing them.
Very good. What can you add to your soil to make it more acidic if your soil's not acidic to begin with?
Oh man, I'm not sure.
Bernie?
Using ammonium sulfate as one of the fertilizers. The sulfur is generally about the one thing that really works good on lowering the pH. But it's kind of an interesting thing if you are short in potassium and you add potassium to the soil, it also tends to lower the pH. So if you really want to put some money in azaleas, a soil test would be a really good place to start. Generally, if you plant them under oak trees or under pine trees, the soil is slightly acidic anyway.
Mm-hmm.
The tannins tend to lower the pH, but using sulfur does lower it, but it doesn't lower it for a long period of time. So if you have a high pH and you're going to plant azaleas, you're going to constantly fight that forever. So, if you've got a 7.5 to 8 pH someplace, I wouldn't plant azaleas in that area. And if you're 6 to 5.5, you're home free, and that other area, you probably should use azalea fertilizer, which is normally has ammonium sulfate to help lower the pH, and maybe use a little elemental sulfur.
And longtime viewer and co-founder of all of this, Lily Browning, suggests oak leaves, and oak leaves help. It takes long term for oak leaves to actually affect the soil pH. And if your pH is ridiculously high to start with, oak leaves will fix it. It might take 100 years, but oak leaves make a very, very good mulch for azaleas because they break down quickly. They're always adding to the soil. If you have an oak tree, it's giving you leaves every year. So don't put those leaves in a plastic bag and send them off to the landfill. Turn them into compost, use them to mulch with. They're going to break down, pretty quickly, and they're always adding to the soil and helping to build things up.
Yeah, compost is absolutely the very best thing you can put down. That is so true, and for a couple of reasons. Not only do you get the organic material, but you also get the microbes that we don't have in the soil, and the microbes are what turn the nutrients into something the plant can use. So our sandy soils tend to be very, very low in organic material. And the absolute best source of organic material is compost. And like I said, it gives you not only the basic organic, but it gives you the bugs already. And the bugs are very, very, very critical.
Now, you may live in a place where your soil is it is what it is. So, for example, here in Hernando County, if somebody calls and they live right over on the coast in Hernando Beach, and they're asking about growing azaleas or blueberries or a Bahia lawn, I tell them, sorry, guys, and all their soil tests come back with a soil pH of 8.5, and they're not going to be able to change that. And Bahia grass, you can grow it, but it's never going to look very good. It's always going to thin out. And azaleas and blueberries, because they need acidic soil, are never going to grow well in the ground in a place like that. So maybe you just have to work with what you're given and what you have, and pick other plants that are going to thrive in higher pH. And there are other plant choices out there.
Yeah, that's one of those things that people don't realize. You cannot change the soil for a long period of time. If you do a really nice job, you mix in a lot of organic material, a lot of compost, everything that you can do. It's good for about 2 years at best. The organic material oxidizes, all the minerals become salts. The rain comes along, washes it all away. If you decide that you really want to plant something that shouldn't be there forever and ever and ever, as long as that plant survives, you're going to have to keep doing the amendments to maintain the conditions. It's just sad, but that's the way it is. Florida has a sandy soil. There's things that grow great in a sandy soil, but there's a lot of things that aren't happy here. So, we don't grow corn in Florida. We don't grow row crops in Florida, because you can go to Iowa or Indiana or Illinois, and you can grow those things, and you get 200 bushel to an acre, and it's great. The same plant here in Florida, you get 70 bushel to an acre. It costs you $100 an acre more to grow it than you get for it. So,
yeah, that's why UF is always working on other alternative crops that they can grow here that are going to do well here and be profitable also. Here's a little insight for specifically Hernando County. Ms. Browning says that west of the Suncoast Parkway is more difficult for azaleas. Brooksville, Inverness, Dade City is a lot easier. Part of that, and I'm sure a lot of you have noticed in the spring, if you drive around more of a historic part of town, you see all the really great big old azaleas, and they're all beautiful and in full bloom. Part of that is a lot of those older downtown areas have large shade trees. So they're going to have the very large oak trees, which create the perfect light environment for azaleas. Because I've spoken with people before, they call and they say, I live in a house in a newer subdivision, and I put in a hedge, a whole row of azaleas, and they're all dying. What's wrong? And they put them out in the full sun in a new neighborhood where the largest tree in the whole neighborhood is 6 feet tall, a brand new live oak. That 30 years down the road is going to be a lot larger and give a lot more shade. But right now, the whole neighborhood is full sun, no shade, and that is just not the right spot for azaleas. So this historic downtown Brooksville, beautiful area. If you go down there, it's nothing but huge old oak trees and caladiums and ferns and azaleas in the spring. And part of the reason why is that great big tree canopy that's making it all possible.
Yeah, all those big leaves for years have fallen and composted, and that's a situation where nature is modifying the soil every year. So, but
those
if you
tree
take
leaves
all those
are
big
like
trees
gold.
down and clear it in 2 years, it's just like any place else.
Yeah, take those leaves, run them. If you have a lawnmower with mulching blade and a bagger, run over with a lawnmower and grind them up some, bag them up, put them in a pile, let them break down. You can use them, directly without letting them break down or compost as mulch in your garden beds. Or you can compost it, work it in the soil in your vegetable garden, annuals, whatever you're growing. Helps build up that sand. So So, Bernie, how would Bassem make his camellia bloom?
Camellias are another one of those that need acid soil. And it's very important that if you prune them pretty much immediately after they bloom, because they bloom on new growth. And if you prune them late, they won't set buds on the pruned growth, and you'll have to wait until next year. So camellias want a slightly acid soil, half day sun maximum, and pruning only immediately after they bloom. So that's pretty much the things on camellias.
Yeah, you can grow camellias here in Central Florida. They do just fine. They almost always get T-scale, so keep your eyes open for that. You have to grow them once again in the more historic areas where you have large oak tree shade and that speckled sun, just like, where azaleas are going to thrive the best. Yeah, you can grow camellias here. I know there's a huge number of different named varieties and people collect them. And there's the Camellia Society, so you can turn it into a serious hobby if you want.
Blue Gardens has a camellia group come in every year. They have 1 week where they present the various camellias. And they have usually a couple hundred varieties on display over there. So if you're really interested in camellias, it's worthwhile to go to Lou Gardens over in Orlando, call them and find out when their camellia program is. And it seems like it's coming up pretty quick.
Yeah, it's blooming season for them really soon.
Yeah. Gorgeous plant, really nice.
Mm-hmm. People use camellia oil to keep rust off of knives. Like if you have like carbon steel, really nice cutting knives, they'll coat them, if you're putting them away or whatever, they'll coat them in camellia oil, which it just is clicking that that's the plan. I don't know, you just think about it, whatever, but they'll put it on there to keep moisture from getting on the steel so it doesn't rust. And that's the only thing I knew about camellias before you guys talked about that.
So, hey guys, if anybody has any other questions, go ahead and put them in the chat. So let's see. What else is going on? I guess we already kind of talked about the weather. We're expecting more rain here in Hernando County. Did you guys see the graphic I saw on Facebook, and I'm sure it's been on the news also, about rainfall in Florida? If you look at the eastern half of the state down around West Palm Beach or Fort Lauderdale, Miami, they're way, 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 way. It's like the wettest year on record. And then straight across in the Tampa Bay area, one of the driest summers on record. Same state, right next to each other. So
it's one of those, you'll have climate change. You're going to have more of each extreme. The extremes will get more extreme and get further apart.
Well, I know in Florida, it'll rain on one side of the street and not on the other. So
I got wet walking to my car, getting off of work, and by the time I got home, 6 miles away, not a cloud in the sky over there. So it gets a little crazy. I will say, we talked about composting a couple times this morning already. If you are interested if you're a Hernando County resident or interested in composting, here at my office on Cortez and Brooksville, which you can find the sign up for at the link that's on the screen right now, we'll be having a compost bin and rain barrel workshop. That's on January 22nd at 10 in the morning. And if you're a Hernando County resident, you are eligible to receive a free compost bin, which is super exciting. And you're eligible to purchase a rain barrel. And if you're a utilities customer, you're actually eligible for a rebate if you purchase that rain barrel that day. as well. So that's just a little something if you want to come see us talk about compost bins and rain barrels, maybe get you one. Just an option. I mean, composting is great. It should be something that everybody does. And this is, I mean, there's no price better than free.
Yeah, you can't be free.
I probably shouldn't be giving commercial time to people, but after mentioning Lou Gardens, if you really want landscaping ideas, there's some really nice places in Florida. Kanapaha up at Gainesville is a very large garden area, tremendous amount of plants. And the wonderful part about that is that most of the things on display at Kanapaha will grow in Hernando County. We're about as far south as those things grow, but from here all the way up to the rest of the state, they have a great variety. If you want things for the middle of the state, Lou Gardens in Orlando is a tremendous place. Lou Gardens is one of those spots where they went out and got 30 varieties of the same plant. So you can see various ways that this plant can be used in decorating. They are the fellow that runs the plant or runs the garden is one of these unashamed people that took his scissors and went around and took cuttings in other places and it made a lot of things there that you just don't see anywhere else. But it tremendous ideas, and it's like they have the camellia show. They have just about any kind of plant you want, and most of them grow in Central Florida or just slightly south. Orlando's a little warmer than we are, so you have to be careful. Some of the plants are right on the edge, but it's great. And then Marie Selby down at Sarasota, if you're in the southern part of the state, Marie Selby is a great place to go to find out what will grow farther south. So I really think that anybody that hasn't been to one of these major gardens should go to at least one of them. Take a look, and it gives you a much better idea of what can be done, because there'll be so many plants that you won't ever see anywhere else. If the plant's really super fantastic, it has commercial value and people are selling it. But if you can't find something that exactly fits that little spot you need, one of these gardens will show you all the plants that are basically going to grow in your area. And then if you can't find something, it's because there's nothing that really wants to be there. So, it's one thing to look in a book. It's another thing to look at the actual items themselves. So make it a day-long trip and go to one of the big gardens. If you're farther south, there's a big garden in Fort Lauderdale. I've been there, and it's a very enjoyable day. But if you're in Fort Lauderdale, you're going to grow something entirely different than what grows here. And,
mangoes.
Yeah.
I know in St. Pete at the Dolly Museum, they have a really nice garden outside of there. I think it's called the Avant Garden. It's pretty neat. They have some quite a few native plants, some not native plants. It was interesting when I saw it. They got this real strange looking ficus tree. That's one of the things I remember specifically. But it's cool if you're into art and stuff like that. I thought it was neat.
Well, Sunken Gardens is a place that's got a lot of really neat plants. The big problem there is those plants are being taken care of to the point where you can't go and look and say, that's a beautiful plant. I'd like to have one of those. because the odds are you aren't going to be able to take care of it. You don't have the environment that they've got.
And someone's taking care of it like as their job. Like that's your whole job to make sure that this plant stays alive.
The palm tree grouping just north of downtown along the harbor there. And there's what, 60 some different palm trees. Well,
you mean, I think it's Sunken Gardens?
No, it's beside Sunken Gardens. It's south of Sunken Gardens, and it's just amazing the amount of palm trees that are in there. Like I say, I think there's 60 some varieties of palm trees, and a few, and they did give you enough information that you could find out whether it has a chance in your area. They tell you what the bottom temperature is, but they're sitting in a very unique spot because it's immediately adjacent to water, so they're pretty much warmer than you're going to be, and they're far enough south. You know, they're 10 to 15 degrees warmer at that spot than we are right here. So those palms, although it's worth going to see all of the different palms, so many of them couldn't actually be grown here. If you were Sarasota South, probably everything they've got there can be grown.
Yeah, but still, if you do your homework and you go out and visit community gardens and get some other ideas, there are more palms that would grow here in Hernando County than what we normally deal with. It seems like there's maybe like, what, 5 that we deal with day in and day out. Those are the most common ones that people use for landscaping. I'm sure there's a lot more chances, a lot more possibilities out there.
The university puts out a paper that shows, I think, about 35 palms that would grow in Hernando County. And it's difficult to find a lot of those. You know, there again, if the plant doesn't have tremendous commercial appeal, it's difficult to find it commercially. You end up going online and finding some little bitty guy somewhere that's got 20 of them for sale.
Yeah. But that gives you a lot more opportunities because in the past, you're kind of limited by, well, I'm just going to go to the nurseries I know of in my town. And if they don't have it, I don't even know it exists. So do your homework, put a little planning into it, know what kind of plant you're looking for. I think being able to go online and order these things is, a great opportunity because it really increases your chances of finding them. Because keep in mind, if you live in a newer neighborhood, when they built it and landscaped it, they're picking trees that they can get for a really good price for like 20 flatbed trucks worth, to put in the neighborhood. So we see live oaks, magnolias, and maybe 1 or 2 other kinds of trees account for probably 95% of the subdivision neighborhood trees. And there's a huge number of trees, native trees and other trees that are going to do very well in this area that are just underutilized.
When I first moved here, I got one of the catalogs from a place in Michigan, and they had all these fruit trees that would grow all the way to zone 10. And I ordered a lot of fruit trees, planted them, and found out that their idea of grow is it means that it didn't fall over dead for the first 6 months. So if you do order plants online, be very, very careful ordering them a long distance from where you are. If you want a particular plant and you go online and there's a nursery over Melbourne, it's probably going to work fine here. But if you're going to buy it out of a nursery in Michigan or Maine or one of those, it's probably not going to really work.
Yeah, because if you're talking like zone 9A or 9B, they have that in California also. And our environment, our weather, our conditions are very, very different from there. So, do your homework and kind of pick your plant first and go shopping for it second.
Yeah, I wish more people would do that. Everybody goes to the big box store, they see something that's really beautiful, and they buy it on impulse. And so often, the plant is either going to have a very limited life here, or it may be totally unsuitable. But you know, it's easy to grow it in a pot, and it's easy to keep it alive and make it look pretty for long enough time to sell it. So I really recommend hang on to the receipt. These places that guarantee it for a year, take it back. If you do that often enough, if everybody takes back the things that weren't suitable,
they'll quit.
They'll
quit buying that.
Stop selling them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, we have a question from a concerned listener here who saw on a community Facebook group, somebody asked what spray to use to combat fleas in their yard. And Teresa answered them, what's your advice?
Oh,
this is very easy because you have old school and you have what things are available now. Old school is you just hose your whole yard, your whole piece of property down with 7 diazinon, Durazban, whatever it might be, broad spectrum insecticide, kill everything, throw off your population of everything from lizards to spiders to every other living thing that you have on your property, trying to get rid of the fleas. And you may be successful and you may not be successful. Now, for certain insects, they have something called insect growth regulators, which is a substance that basically breaks the life cycle of an insect pest, and they do have them for fleas. I spent a moment, let me go ahead and share a link to some University of Florida information here on that, and you could look up a lot more online under IGRs or insect growth regulators. So those are going to only kill fleas, not the lizards, not the birds, not the neighbors, not anything else out in your yard. And you have to be patient. It takes a little time. But when it will make the population of fleas crash, and it will crash, and you won't have fleas for a while. So a lot of the days of just broadcast spraying with a broad spectrum insecticide to solve your problems, guys, we don't live in that world anymore. People who, if they have a roach problem or are afraid of a roach problem in their house, the days of just hosing your house, your garage, or the outside down with something. I didn't have a problem with it this summer, but last summer I got Australian roaches in my garage, partly because my wife still had a lot of cardboard boxes in there. So I convinced her when we noticed roaches to get rid of at least half of the cardboard, which helped. But instead of just spraying the heck out of the garage, I ordered a bait, and it comes in a big fat syringe, and it's kind of brown and gooey, and put it back in the corners, and those roaches gobbled them up. 2 days later, a lot of them were dead. A couple days later, they were gone, and they have not returned. I don't spray my garage every 30 days. That'd be kind of stupid, wouldn't it be? I'm too lazy for that anyway. I'm not going to spray all the time. So baits, insect growth regulators, there's a lot of new things on the market for controlling specific problems like fleas or roaches.
There's also some ways you can kind of avoid getting fleas, or mitigate a little bit. Mowing your lawn. You're mowing your lawn at 4 inches. Keeping that lawn mowed a little bit higher will make it beneficial because fleas are prey animals. They're preyed on by ants and spiders and any other larger predator insects you could think of. Making your lawn attractive, those spiders will eat the fleas. I know that fleas do not like cedar. If you mulch with cedar, that's somewhere, especially if it's somewhere like your dog or cat might like to lay down. If you do it there, the fleas won't. They really don't like it. I actually heard that fleas did not like that because they need a lot of humidity. I know that the larvae like to uptake water like through the air. And I know that they like moist, humid, damp, icky areas is what I was under the impression of. But if you, so if you're watering appropriately, not overwatering, that might help a little bit too. Um, I think that's for non pesticide. That's some of the ways you can do that.
Yeah, we had a lady come in once before that had fleas in her Florida room, and we tracked it down to her potted plants. And she brought in some samples, and I think that's the only flea larva, because they're kind of unique looking, that I have in my collection was out of one of her potted plants.
I know they like they'll get up in, if you have like a brush pile or somewhere like laid up, even rocks and stuff, they'll get all in there.
And stray cats will bring them into your yard also and bring you a problem. I've never had a problem. I can't remember the last problem I had issues with fleas on any of the pets, and we've never had it over in this area. But when you have a couple of huskies, they kind of keep the stray cats at bay.
Yeah.
Except for the really dumb ones. So.
Well, but when we moved out, we lived in a house that we had a lot of trees. There wasn't a lot of like turf grass. It was, it's because there's so much shade. Yeah. But we had a lot of, like little wood piles. It was kind of in the, lots of like a bunch of thick trees, a bunch of stuff. Our dogs would get fleas every once in a while, and you'd have to treat them. But when we moved out somewhere that was like a pasture, with like a lot of less trees, they don't get fleas nearly as often. Well, they didn't. I have 2 cats. They don't get fleas. They stay inside.
Yeah, so we don't get questions about fleas all that often. We do sometimes, and people do get fleas, but not an awful lot.
Oh, thank you.
So, Bernie, are you going to share some of that with us or not?
Absolutely not. They got a class on barbecuing, and I just got a piece of barbecued steak here. Delicious.
Yeah, I can smell the charcoal in my office with the door closed. Are they cooking in the hallway now, or?
They also had class on making sauces, so this is flavored fantastic. That's one nice thing about being around the extension. We have a lot of things going besides plants. We have our marine agent. We have the 4-H people, and the 4-H people are doing this, teaching the kids what to do with their animals, and they put on a lot of programs where there's food available, and then the good doctor every once in a while will have a show. He did dragon fruit. I love the dragon fruit. That was good. So really,
yeah. Well, Deanna is
work here.
Deanna, our 4-H program assistant, is back there working with the kids, and they've been grilling for a couple of days now. And I know that she will be helping us when we do our special on grilling iguana. So we're just trying to find some reasonably priced iguana. You look online, stuff's like, 20, 30, 40 bucks a pound.
We might have to take a field trip and go bonk one on the head.
I think so. I'll bring my camera. I'll bring my phone so we can videotape the entire incident. And,
wait until it's going to be cold. Run down to South Florida, and the cold front comes in. They just fall out of the tree right in your lap.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, one of our kids lived in Miami, but they live in the greater Orlando area now. So that's a shame. They lived right on a canal, and the darn things are like laying in the grass all up and down the canal all day. There's iguanas all over the place down there in Miami. Could have found a nice big fat one.
Yeah, it's like that's a real industry down there, is doing iguana control, and it's just a bunch of dudes with baseball bats. Well, I'm not even kidding. They get out of their truck and they go bonk, 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 and then they go back, pick them all up and take them, I guess, to the people who are selling it for $30 a pound on the internet.
Yeah, so I'm going to have to shop around. So when we do this, we will have some University of Florida specialists on here to tell you how to properly prepare them, properly cook them, how to do it upright. And we're going to have Deanna out back cooking them up and properly seasoning them, and so that you do it correctly and safely. We just really need to line up some iguanas first. So we're still working on that, guys. Haven't forgotten it. I have my little list of show ideas for in the future. So, it looks like we're coming up on that time, basically.
It's amazing how quick these things go. I'm just surprised.
Time just flies when you're answering questions about lawn and garden problems, because people have such a variety, all azaleas and my lawn is dying and how do you cook iguana? And I mean, it just goes from one thing to another. And everybody who's watching right now, whether you're with us live or you're watching a recording, try to definitely pop in next Thursday at 10 o'clock in the morning, because we're supposed to have Hannah Brinkley with us, and she is the expert when it comes to animal kind of questions. She's the director at Chinsegut Conservation Center, which is a small Florida State Park / conservation center / education center. She can tell you exactly what she does, but she knows all about how to deal with everything from squirrels to birds to tegu lizards and everything else in between, in your yard, in your garden, in your house. If something accidentally sneaks in, she can tell you what to do. And she's always a lot of fun to have on. So if you'd like to contact Bernie or stop by the office to see him, Bernie's here on Thursdays, and there's our office phone number. Mary would be the one answering right now. Teresa is out this morning. I think she's going to be back a little bit later on. Be sure to follow us on Facebook. This is where whenever we have a class coming up, whenever we have something going on, goes on Facebook first. If you live anywhere near Hernando County, please be sure to stop by our Master Gardener Nursery. Our Master Gardener volunteers are there Wednesday morning and Saturday morning from 8:30 in the morning till noon. And they have a wide variety of Florida-friendly and native plants for sale. They answer questions also. So if you just have a lawn garden question, stop by, ask them. This is weather permitting. This coming Saturday here in Hernando County, every forecast I see, it looks like it's going to pour rain Saturday morning. So this Saturday, they might not be there. But normally, if the weather's good, Wednesday and Saturday morning from 8:30 until noon, there's the address. And be sure to check out all of our past recorded classes on Hernando County Government's YouTube channel. So go on YouTube. The little box up top, type in Hernando County Government, and you're going to go to their YouTube channel. Be sure to like them, thumbs up, and click the little bell so that you get notifications whenever John posts another recording up there. And if you look at that under the playlists, there's one for Florida Friendly Landscaping, where the nice lady who kept asking questions this morning, Lily Browning, has like 120 recorded classes up there. How many days would you have to binge watch her classes to catch them all?
Oh my gosh, probably.
I'm going to have to do the math on that and figure that one out. But she's got a lot recorded. I don't have quite that much, but we have a lot of really great past classes that we recorded on there also for you to watch. Free. Great way to get started with gardening here in Hernando County or Central Florida in general. Watch the videos. When you have specific questions, shoot me an email and we'll help kind of get you off on the right foot.
That's about 24 hours a day for 5 days to watch those.
That's listening to a lot of Lily's voice. I tell you what.
I made it through a lot of them, but I'm not done, and it's been, 5 months or so. It's been a while.
Just a quickie. We had one of the master gardeners stop, pick up some tomato seeds, and planted them in our little experimental hydroponic setup out here. Turns out these are some of the absolute best tomatoes I've ever had. Coming from up north, these are the what you used to get when you were a kid. The kind of thing where you take a salt shaker and go out and walk in the tomato patch, and you come back with your face all covered with tomato juice. Really great tomatoes. So a friend of mine, I gave him one, and he called and he's excited. I want to plant those. So I called the master gardener that planted them and asked what variety they were. And she gave me the name, but she said, I don't know if that's really what it is or not. I bought them at a flea market. These two little old ladies were selling heirloom tomato seeds. And these were supposed to be determinate, and they're not. They're indeterminate. So they didn't really have them marked correctly. But they are fantastic. So, as a tip, go to your local flea market, buy some seeds that you don't know for sure what they are, plant them, and see if you get something great. And if it doesn't work, try it again. That is the true definition of what a master gardener is. An ordinary gardener, if they can't get it to grow, they quit. But when you reach the point where you are a true master gardener, your compost pile is really big, but your successes start outweighing your failures. So try it, see what happens. Everybody complains you can't grow a good tomato in Florida. I absolutely know that's not true now. So as a believer in there is life after moving to Florida as far as tomatoes go, try it. You might like it. That's my advice for the week.
Well, on that note, let's go ahead and wrap it up for this week. And thank you so much for everybody who joined us live. And please be sure to come back next Thursday morning at 10 a.m. We'll be back here again. Mm-hmm. So save up all your lawn and garden questions until then, and you can share them. And if we can't answer them, we'll find somebody smarter than us who can answer them. I got the whole University of Florida to kind of help out with this endeavor here. So, hey guys, everybody have a great day, and thank you so much. Bye.
Yep, have a good one.